so the first thing you need to do is to get your measurement ready in terms of your waist circumference measured around your waist, and then your hip circumference, and then your waist to hips. Is usually the average is 22 centimeter, and I just stick with this most of the times, but you can decide to go ahead and measure from your waist to your hip if you prefer to do so, and most time usually between 20 to 25 centimeter. And then for my waist to knee, I'm going to use the average, which is 52 centimeter for most persons, and this proportion can be used for most figures, except, and there's no need to adjust it really, except in cases of very short or very tall figure, when the lines can, then you can move it either up or down as required. And then your desired length. For this one, I'm going to be drafting a long skirt, not knee length, so long skirt. But the process is pretty the same thing for any skirt of any length. So the next thing is to get my paper ready, and for my paper, for the length of your paper, try and ensure that it's at least more than 15 centimeter more than your desired length, and then in terms of width, it's at least 15 centimeter more than the half of your hip circumference. And then I'm just drawing my border line from along the length of my paper and along the width of my, just at the top of my paper. So that's from where I'm going to start all my measurements. I wouldn't just want to start from the edge of my paper. So I just use my ruler for this to get, it's not any particular measurement. So the next thing for me to do is to measure. I'm just going to go ahead and call that my top line, or you can call it your waistline, but I usually just use top line. So then the next thing is to mark my half of my hips circumference. My hips is 68, so half of that plus 3 centimeter ease. I just had 3 centimeter for ease, and then I'm going to measure that down all the way down to just so that it can guide me to get a straight line. So that is what I'm doing just right now. I'm just marking half of my hip circumference plus 3 centimeter for ease. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect those dots to get a straight line. Okay. So now I'm just going to go ahead and measure my length. My full length is 82 centimeter, and I'm just going to go ahead and mark that at different parts of my paper, and then I'm going to rule an horizontal line parallel to my top line and call that the M line. So I'm going to label that the M line, as you can see. So that's my full length. So I'm going to go ahead and do the next thing, which will be to mark my hip line. My hip line is 22 centimeter, like I said already. I used it's the average, and I just stick with that because it works for me. Or you can go ahead and take the exact measurement. So as usual, I mark it along a different point, and I'm going to connect those points together. I'm going to call this my hip line. The next thing is to go ahead and mark my knee line, which is 52 centimeter from my top line or waistline. And then as usual, I'm going to mark it across board and then connect using a straight line. If you're drafting for a shorter skirt, this would most likely be your M line, and you wouldn't need a knee line. You just need your desired length at this point after your hips line. The next thing is to go ahead and add my allowance to my M line. I'm using 5 centimeter, and I'm just going to connect as well, and I'm going to call that my hem line allowance. So just after my M line. And of course, again, if you are drafting for a shorter skirt, you wouldn't need the knee line. You just go ahead after your hips line and measure your full length and connect. And then the next thing is to come to this place and to the top line and mark the center point of this of what I have in the box, which is originally the half of my hips plus 3 centimeter for his. So I just found the midpoint of this, and then I'm going to duplicate that down to my M line or hem line allowance, and then I'm going to rule a straight line, and I'm going to call this the side seam. So just divide it into 2. So I'm going to call this my side seam, and then this place is my center back, and here is my center front, and I'm just going to note that cut on fold, of course depending on the style of the skirt I have in mind. So the next thing for me to do is to shape my waist, and for my waist reduction, I'm going to come to my top line and measure what I have from my center front to my center back, which is of course the half of my hips circumference plus 3 centimeter his, and I'm going to deduct my waist divided by 2, half of my waist circumference from this, whatever I get on this line, along this line. So what I have for my waist is 68 centimeter, divided by 2 is 34 centimeter. So I'm going to deduct that from what I have on my top line, and which is 48.5 centimeter. I'm left with 14.5 centimeter, which is what I'm going to take out from my top line to shape my waist. So I'm going to distribute that, and along my side seam, it's safer not to remove more than 8 centimeters. So whatever you have, you can remove between 6 centimeter to 8 centimeter, but don't try not to take more than 8 centimeter along this. So I'm going to allocate 4 centimeter to both sides from my seam, side seam. I measured 4 centimeter to the right and then to the left, and then I connected to my hip line using a hip curve or anything that will not give you a very straight line. Just to mention, I decided on to have more than one dart on my back and my front bodies. So what I have left after removing that 8 centimeter, allocating that to my side seam is 6.5. But quickly, I'm going to elevate my waistline by 1 centimeter. Just watch me. And I'm going to connect that to my center front and to my center back, just 1 centimeter upward along my side seam, and connect. Make it vanish towards your center back and center front. So you shouldn't just hit it sharply. Make it vanish towards the center front and then the center back. So what I have left for my dart is 6.5 centimeter. Usually it's best to allocate a smaller proportion to the front as against the back. So I'm going to have 3 centimeter on my front. I'm going to just find the midpoint of my waistline, just the midpoint. I have 20, and then I'm going to have 10 centimeter, and then I'm going to just allocate 1.5 along the midpoint. From the midpoint, 1.5 to the right side, and then to the left side, 1.5. And at that midpoint, just draw a straight line down. I'm using 12 centimeter, which is the average. Really, it varies between 12 to 14 centimeter. So 12 centimeter downward. I don't have a set square. A set square would have done this better to get the right angle you want. But if you don't have that, just try and get a straight line too, downward. And then I'm going to connect my 1.5 towards the right side, and then 1.5 towards the left side to give me my dart. And for my back dart, it's pretty much the same thing. Find the midpoint along the waistline, and then go down by 12 centimeter or more or less. So the more the dart, and the longer it should be, so that it tapers off without poking out on your skirt. So just the same way, find the midpoint and then draw that, and then I have 3.5 left, so I'm going to distribute that to from my midpoint towards the right and towards the left. If you have more than, usually you shouldn't take more than 4 centimeter for this short dart. If you are going to have more than 4 centimeter for the front and for the back, you need to have 2 darts on the back piece, so that it's well distributed. But mine is just a safe one. It's just very easy for me to go ahead and straightforward. But if you need more clarification about having 2 darts, just drop a comment in the description box, in the comment section, and I'm going to do my best to explain that. So you shouldn't take more than 4 centimeter for the front and back pieces. And then the last thing for me to do is to go ahead and remove 2.5 along both sides from my side seam, just towards my center back and towards my center front, to have a pencil line, for a pencil skirt, just in case if I want to use this pattern for a pencil skirt. So, but if you don't want that, you can of course skip this step. So just 2.5 centimeter towards my back piece, and then towards my front piece, and just connect to my hip line. Sorry, this is not well captured, but just follow me. To just connect a straight line towards my hip line, make it taper off towards the hip line. And that is that about that. So for like I said, if you are going to have 2 darts, what you need to do is distribute more to your back piece, and then you need to go in by 8 centimeter and have your first dart at that point, and then you go in again by 6 centimeter or more, or 7 centimeter, and then have your second dart at that point again. So you just have 2 darts and you're good to go as well. Just go in again by 4 and just draw it a straight line and have your darts form at those 2 points. If you have excess, if you have more than what it can accommodate. But if you need more clarification again, you can of course ask me or just check online. I'm sure you'll find videos on that. But I'll be glad to help with further clarifications too. So again, what I'm doing now is just to go ahead with my marker so that it can be easy for me to trace. So what I usually do is just to keep my pattern. I just keep this, and when I want to I want to modify this, I just trace this off. So this makes it easy for me to trace it when I want to do a new pattern or modify my pattern for another skirt block. So this is basically the last thing I'm just doing on this, and I'm just going to call this my basic skirt block. Sorry, that body was a mistake. I just cancelled that. So this is what I have right now. Thank you for watching this video. Watch out for my new videos. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.